Hello, Kipsters. Welcome to day 2 of our virtual music lesson. Today we are continuing to talk about reading notes on the musical staff. Our first lesson, we discussed the treble clef. So if you remember, the symbol looks like this. That is our treble clef. Today we are going to go to our second clef. In music, there is about 4 clefs, I believe. We are only going to work on 2 of them because these are the two most important. Today we are going to be looking at the bass clef. All right. Now tomorrow's lesson we're going to talk about the difference between both of them. Today we're just going to really focus in on the bass clef and how to identify the notes on the bass clef staff. All right. So if you remember from treble clef, we had every good boy deserves fruit, and the spaces spell out face. All right. And we used a mnemonic device to remember that, which was every good boy deserves fruit for our lines, and space equals face. For bass clef, it is a little different. If you remember on the treble clef, you had the E was at the bottom. On this, you see that we have G at the bottom. So we have a different mnemonic device to remember when we're reading bass clef. All right. Remember, you can always go back and watch the video again if you need to hear what I said just once again. I'm gonna go on though. So for our mnemonic device for bass clef, we start with G, great. We go to B, big. Go to D, dogs. F, frighten. Sorry, I couldn't see that word backwards. Frighten for F, and A for Alice. Great big dogs frighten Alice. All right. Now you can always make up your own mnemonic device. We actually will have that in an exit ticket. You can make your own mnemonic device tomorrow. But today we're going with great big dogs frighten Alice. I have good boys deserve fudge always. I've heard quite a few. This is the first time I've heard this one. But again, you can come up with anything you want to remember. This is just the one that happens to be on this card. Okay, and our next mnemonic device, sorry, it fell to the ground. For the spaces, I'm going to show you the spaces in a minute here. That was the lines. This is the spaces for the bass clef. So remember, we had space equals face for our treble clef. For bass clef, we have to remember all cows eat grass. Now, we do know all cows eat grass. That is a true statement. No fake news here today. Okay. On our piano, if we were to play A, C, E, G in the bass clef, it would sound like this. And if we were to play our lines G, B, D, F, A, great big dogs frighten Alice, it would sound like that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go through the lines with you, and then I'm going to go through the spaces with you to show you what they look like and what they sound like on the piano when they're played. Okay? And then we are going to complete our lesson, and then tomorrow we will go in a little deeper about the difference between both. Our first card, we're going to start from the bottom here. We have, it's on the line, so it would be G. Great. All right, we're going to try to remember our mnemonic device as we go on. So, great. Then we have this note. Sounds like this. B for big. Great, big. See if you remember, keep going on. Our next note is this. Looks like this. Sounds like that. And it is a D. Great big dogs. What's the next letter? Sounds like that. F. Great big dogs frighten. And our last letter. A. Alice. Okay. Now, the biggest reason why this can be confusing because sometimes you'll have a note that is on the line and the space. So for instance, we have a bass clef, and we'll talk about this difference tomorrow. We have a bass clef, right? And we have treble clef. Now if you look, they are on the same third line together. The difference is the clef symbol here. So this is where we got to stay focused and make sure we're watching for this, because if this changes, then the letter of this changes. You see how they're different? D and B. And we will go over this more in our next lesson. I just wanted to give you an example just in case you were getting confused as we went along and you remembered that B was on the third line. It is on the third line, but only when it's on the treble clef. Remember, we are working with the bass clef today. Okay, so we just went through our lines, and now we are finishing with our spaces for the bass clef. Make sure my cards are correct. Okay, our spaces. All cows eat grass. A, C, E, G from the bottom to the top. Here's our first card. This note is A. Good job if you got that right. Our next letter, our next note on the staff, second space, all cows. C. All cows. Our next letter, our next note, eats. All cows eat. E. And our last letter, our last note, all cows eat grass. Okay, that is how we identify our space and our line notes in the bass clef. Again, we're going to go over one more time. Great big dogs frighten Alice. That's how we remember our bass clef lines, bass clef only. And for our spaces, all cows eat grass. Kipsters, don't forget to do your exit ticket today. I hope this video was easy for you to follow. If you have any questions, always feel free to go back and watch the video again. Again, I have left you a PDF to show you and help you along identifying the notes on the staff of the bass clef and treble clef. Tomorrow we're going to dive in a little deeper with our treble bass clef, the difference between both and how we can identify those appropriately. Have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow.